Hello and welcome to Education World. On this episode of Eduleader Speaks, we have with us Mr. Gaurav Bedi. Gaurav Bedi is the principal of Gurukul The School, Ghaziabad. He has held the post since 2015. An educationist with over 2 decades of experience, he has previously worked at DPSG Vasundhara. He is a postgraduate of Delhi University and set foot into the field of education in 2004 as he took keen interest in school administration. A CBSE Master Trainer for CCE and AEP, a life skills trainer, Bedi has been associated with various projects, even those involving the WHO. Besides, he's been involved in content development for mathematics for NCERT under the MHRD. He has also co-authored the CBSE's Adolescent Education Module. Among the accolades that he's received so far are the Global Education Awards, the World Education Award, the Life Empowerment Award for Exemplary Leader in School Education by National Science Center and Expressions India. Welcome, Mr. Bedi.
Thank you so much.
We're anticipating a new cabinet of ministers anytime soon. So what are 2 specific expectations that you have from our new education minister?
Well, to be very honest, 2 expectations. My first expectation would be NEP and NCFS is talking a lot about policies. It's talking a lot about perspectives. Now, how to maneuver from perspective to practice. Now, this is a big task. This is a big challenge. There is a perspective that education policy has given us, but its implementation has a lot of challenges. So I really urge the education minister to have a good focus on the practices that will ensure that the perspective and practice both meet end to end. So that is the first thing that I think I'm looking forward with the new education minister. And secondly, in order to reach there, you need a lot of teacher training. See, all the policies that government has made in past regarding education, some of them fall flat because of one big reason, that was they could not penetrate the last user. I mean, could not penetrate the masses. So CCE failed just because of teacher training. CCE failed because couldn't reach the entire mass together. So I think any policy, if it is not reaching out to the last person, will remain on papers and nothing practical happen on ground, except a few good schools who try to implement it heart to heart, who have that skill and acumen and intent and interest and the passion to lead. Otherwise, it doesn't move anywhere. So India is a diverse land, diverse people, diverse mindsets. I would urge the new education minister to kindly focus on this very big parameter of training, advocacy, and bringing everybody on board. I know it is a very daunting task. It is not easy when you talk about 150 billion population, but still, nonetheless, I want my education minister to speed up the accelerator a little further.
In continuation with the same question, you were talking about your expectation being better implementation of the NEP, but so far, how do you view the implementations?
It happens, as I mentioned in my previous question, that it depends on person to person, state to state, region to region, and mindset to mindset. I think many schools, many people have really, got into the act, and they're really, very passionately trying to implement NEP. In fact, all good schools, I'm talking in good school terms, any progressive school, in order to progress, has to have important elements. Elements did exist even before NEP 2020. So there are schools who are really progressive. They could understand the need of an hour and they have changed gears accordingly. And there are schools who are implementing it beautifully. So there are islands of excellence which are existing. But as far as the blanket statement goes, or as far the standardization goes, I think we are a little far from where we desire to. See, earlier, 220 hours used to be allocated for language development. now for 2 languages. Now, if you have 3 languages and they have reduced the curriculum, I mean, reduced the time to 120 days. Now, from
Okay.
150 to 120, and not 2 languages, 3 languages, how are we going to deliver the content? So there are a few questions which are there in educators' mind, the real practitioner's mind, that need to be cleared before we step into, or before we press on the NEP. Although it's a beautiful document, it is wonderfully drafted. I am all in favor. I am very hopeful that this document will help millions of children in many schools.
Another important development in the offing, or rather, we can say it has already started, is that foreign schools are allowed to establish their own campuses in India now. In such a scenario, what does this mean for the existing schools in India?
See, I tell you, 21st century is more of a collaborative century rather than a competitive century. Animals compete, humans collaborate, I mean, as the saying states. So when foreign schools are coming to India, in fact, there are Indian schools going to foreign as well. So, I mean, I've heard that 2 governments are now trying to reach out to CBSE to have a Hindi language set up in their country. So Australia happens to be one of them. So there are, lot of collaborative spaces being shared, especially when India is moving towards a global economy and it is racing on top, I mean, on progressive charts. So I'm sure where India looks to West, even West is looking to East, and especially in India. So I look at it in a very different light. I see a lot of collaborations happening. I see a lot of pedagogical collaborations happening, a lot of ideological collaborations happening. In the nutshell, everybody will get the cake. In the nutshell, everybody will benefit. So rather than looking at a competitive world or a competition when Indian schools would be able to jump up or whether they'll be able to survive here, I think majorly it's going to be a collaboration. Something new is coming up. Mindset is changing. So something new will come up. We are going to evolve this education system further.
Absolutely. Now, you've also been very actively involved in designing CBSE's Adolescent Education Module. One incident that came to light in Bengaluru very recently was that of school children morphing their classmates' images and circulating it on social media, which is rather horrifying. So, in such a situation, do you think curriculum across boards, syllabus has to be redesigned to incorporate concepts on cybersecurity, safe internet usage protocols, POCSO provisions, etc.?
Well, I absolutely second that without an iota of doubt. And how do I strengthen this belief is there are 2 ways in which you do anything. One is that you do it in your individual capacity, and second, as a member of many committees, as a member of many subcommittees, wherein a lot of thought evolution is happening on how India is progressing in education field. I think technology is here to stay. The gin is out of the box. You can't put it back. You have to start using it. But at the same time, I would say on the individual capacity in my school, I have had a very different curriculum for ICT, wherein we're teaching children cybersecurity right from grade 2, 3, 4, and it's a progressive document. So that's something that we are doing I'm doing in an individual capacity. But I strongly believe that it must be done across levels.
I think another point that you've been stressing about constantly is about how curriculum and pedagogy must always be child-centric. So can you tell me about one recent initiative that you have taken in this direction?
Well, as it's I mean, child-centric, first of all, you need to put child in center. I mean, that's for sure. You know, you need to empathize with these young children. And empathy to me means that putting yourself in other shoes. But when you put yourself in other shoes, you have to remove yours first. So many times we've seen that people tend to get into their domain without losing out on themselves. I mean, you need to get rid of your own philosophy, your own intent, your own thought process. Yes, and then you jump into them. So I feel in my organization, in my school, When we talk about child-centric education, we talk everything to them. They draft their own assessment schedule. They draft their own patterns. They draft their own peer assessments. They have their own whether they would like to go for a quiz this time, or they would like to go for a PBL activity, or they want to. I mean, in the assessment discussion, my children are there. In fact, all education meetings, I have my head boy and head girl here. Pedagogical meeting we are doing, head boy, head girl, student representative have to be there. They also help in policy making of the school. They also have their inputs, whether we agree or we don't, but they need to be there. Either they should be convinced or we should be convinced.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I can do qualitative, in quantitative also, we in my school, we have done away with half yearlies. My children, they said, we don't want half yearlies. Oh my God, why do you don't want half yearlies? Then they decided कि हमारा पहला pre-board ले लो, वो पहला pre-board 100 marks का ले लो, we will give you our best shot.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
I mean, very different thought. I've grown up giving half yearlies all my life. But then
Absolutely.
with these children, they give you such brilliant ideas.
So the following are going to be just one-word questions. Who's the thinker or philosopher that you follow?
Well, I follow Lord Krishna.
Okay. And can you tell us about your leadership style?
You need to be a situational leader. Sometimes you take on the pilot seat, and sometimes you need to bring somebody else. But to be very honest, one common thread would be a servant leader.
What is that one book on education that you think all educators must pick up and read?
Dimensions of Learning by Robert
Okay.
Meltzer.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for being with us. This brings us to the end of the interview. Thank you again.
Oh, that's so nice of you. Thank you.